It's time for the Trading Stocks Made Easy podcast. Each week, Trading Stocks Made Easy demystifies stock trading and investing so you can profit big. And now, here's the host of Trading Stocks Made Easy, the wealthy investor, Tyrone Jackson.
Well, hello there. It's Tyrone Jackson, the wealthy investor, and welcome back to another episode of Trading Stocks Made Easy, where I always try to simplify the stock market for you so that you can have the success that you're looking for. And I always want to say thank you to our announcer, Allison Steele. That wonderful setup that you hear on every episode is Allison Steele, and she's the voice of many brands and certainly is the voice of the Trading Stocks Made Easy podcast. Well, we're calling today's episode An Educated Wealthy Investor. And boy, am I happy that this person has decided to come on and share her story. And I'm talking about someone who's been in the Wealthy Investor program for quite a while. And her name is Jessie Shaw. Hello, Jessie.
Hi, Tyrone. Nice to be here.
Yes, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you coming in and sharing your story and your investing success with us today.
Great. I'm excited to get started.
You know what's so fascinating about you is sometimes every once in a while people say I'm smart. Every once in a while they're like, you're kind of a smart guy. But you're smart and educated. And what I love about your background is you started this path. Your earlier days path in life was all about musicianship and maybe even being a classical musician. But you have an MBA from NYU, is that correct?
That is correct, in marketing and statistics.
In marketing and statistics, how do you go from like professional musician, classical musician, to maybe an MBA from NYU? Tell us about that.
Well, it's very interesting, I think, because I find them to be very interrelated. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think many musicians have certain kinds of minds, and it's very easy to go from music to numbers. At least that's my experience. And then I worked in advertising for a number of years, and I was heading up, research and planning departments where we did a lot of statistical work and, looked at research and turned it into stories for marketers. So it all seems very interconnected to me.
On top of that, weren't you at some point going for a master's degree in music performance?
I was at the University of Iowa, going to school there, working on a music performance degree, and left there before I completed it so I could go and study at a conservatory in Brussels, Belgium. I had a Rotary scholarship to do that. So spent a year in Europe and did the concours, did very well at the concours, had a great experience. Wonderful. Didn't want to come home, actually.
Now, here's what's so great about your story. You have clearly lived life, right? You've had a variety of experiences, both educationally and professionally, and somehow you find yourself trading in the stock market. How did that happen?
Well, I've always been fascinated by the stock market, and even before I had heard about you and the Wealthy Investor program, I had just been really curious, and I kept buying these books and trying to study it and understand, and I even was trying to understand options, and and so I had dabbled a little bit, and then I heard about you through my sister, who's an actor. She told me about you and then came to the program, and then it's just been going on ever since. I'm so thankful that I found the program, actually. I mean, my life would be totally different if I hadn't.
Now, this is interesting. So you were fascinated by numbers and clearly your level of comprehension around things like economics and all that is pretty vast, right? Were you investing before the program? Did you have your money in mutual funds and did you own stocks?
I did own stocks. I owned stocks, and I owned some mutual funds, some exchange-traded funds. I dabbled in various things, and I was working with a full-service broker and was just aghast at how much I was having to pay to trade. And then eventually I opened an E-Trade account and just started doing my own trades, and so sort of figured that out. But I was just reading anything I could get my hands on and, trading a little bit here and there. I mean, I wish I'd bought Apple in the old days when it was at $30 a share. which it was.
Yeah, we all wish we had bought Apple when it was at $30.
It was $30 a share.
Yeah, you're not alone in that one. That's funny. So Jesse, when you, I talk a lot about mindset, right? And if you want to have consistent wealth in your life, you have to change your thinking. And even though you were well educated and you have these master's degrees and you had that bachelor's degree, did you have a shift in your beliefs about what was possible financially when you started trading?
I did. And, it didn't happen immediately, but as I started, kind of doing the practices and getting in there after studying with you, it was like suddenly things started to kind of come together. And I started seeing how it was possible to make money repeatedly, month to month. And then just followed your guidance about setting income goals, and then slowly but surely, I don't know, it's like my understanding would just kind of leapfrog periodically, and I'd get something in a much deeper way, and then I could start playing from that level and seeing where I could go next with it.
And what was your family's reaction when you started trading? Actually, I think your sister started trading before you. Was that right?
She did. And, and she wasn't as much of a numbers person. It just made her anxious. And I've always sort of been the numbers person in the family. So they were all thrilled that I had found you and was so excited about everything that we were learning. And so as it is now, I take care of everyone's investment accounts. That's one of my family jobs. I oversee the investment accounts.
Wait a minute. So are you trading in everyone's retirement account and their cash account?
I am. Yes. Yes. And I have to say, quite honestly, it's much harder than one might think. I'm much more comfortable trading my own money than anybody else's. It's much harder doing someone else's money.
Now that's fascinating because a lot of people wind up doing that. Like when they join the program, they wind up because we're all supposed to be helping other people, right? Do you feel pressure in managing someone else's money?
I don't feel pressure. I just don't like to mess up. And it's one thing if I mess up and if I were to lose some of my money, but when you're dealing with somebody else's money, especially family members, it's just harder. And it's not that I've lost money or, we all lose money a little bit here and there. It's just part of the practice. But, I just don't want to lose anything significant for them. So I've just I use different strategies. That's the thing. I use different strategies for everybody. I use one for my sister and my mom, and I use different ones for myself, whether it's my brokerage versus my IRA. I just have different strategies at play.
Well, I would imagine most of those strategies involve covered calls. Is that yes or no?
No, that is a yes. Yeah, covered calls is the basic strategy across all. And then, and then I determine what it is that I'm going to trade for one thing, and then whether or not I'm going to. So for example, in my own accounts, in my brokerage account, I'll set up a lot of spreads, and more so right now. Mm-hmm. Where in my sister and my mom's, where I'm not necessarily in them and looking at them every day, I'm much more careful with setting up spreads there, just so that things don't run away from me.
No, that makes sense. So since you're setting up spreads and cover call writing, let's focus on the power of getting a financial education, because obviously in everything else that you've done, you've pursued education. Was the stock market another thing that you just had to become educated on in order for you to produce the results that you do?
Absolutely. There's no way. I don't think that, maybe some people can just get it on their own, but I do believe that you need to study it and really give it your focus and attention and know how to approach it. So one of the wonderful things that I like about studying with you, Tyrone, is that I get to hear your thoughts and opinions about things and your approaches. And you've taught me endless amounts of terminology and how things work with options, which are not. Once you get in them and start trading them all the time, it's not really that complicated. But initially, it's just tremendously overwhelming. So yes, one definitely needs it's financial education. I don't know. I wouldn't be able to do it if I hadn't had that.
And I remember you once telling me that on a Sunday night, you actually look at your accounts and you formulate strategies for the next week. Do you still do that?
I do. I've been doing that religiously the entire time that I've been studying with you. And what I do is I track everything in my accounts because I set up, I've got a fair amount of complexity going on all the time. And so at the end of the week, over the weekend, I restructure my little crimp sheets where I watch everything. And then I sit there and I plan out what I'm going to do the next week. I might even look out a week or two ahead because of the way that we stagger our calls, and I stagger the spreads that I set up. So there's always something that's coming to fruition and then something that needs to be reset up. So I'm just constantly reviewing positions and figuring out what the next positions are going to be that I'm going to set up for the next week.
Wow. So you really are disciplined. I mean, I talk to people and I'm like, you have to be disciplined if you're going to do this, right? But you're really disciplined. Have you always been that way?
I'm most comfortable when I'm in a disciplined routine. And also, you said, this is really your words, where, you what is it that, how you say it? You're successful with where you place your awareness and where you place your attention.
Right.
And I'm very much an advocate of that. I totally agree with that. It's like if you want to move something forward, it doesn't happen on its own. You need to give it your energy and your focus and your awareness. And so so I really took that to heart when you said that. It's like, oh yeah, okay, so I want this to happen, so I'm going to give it my attention.
And, trading, very often people think you can be great at trading sitting at home alone. And they always say teachers always teach what they need to learn most. And I have found a lot of value in that. One of the things that I love, no matter what city I'm in, there's a wealthy investor community, right? And and for those of you who've never been to one of the wealthy investor events, we do these things called drills, which are basically practice trades. And so you have to turn and form a group, and then everybody reasons out the trade together. Have you found value from being part of a community?
Oh, most definitely. I mean, I have met so many wonderful people through our coursework. I've just met great people. And then, in terms of the actual showing up for the weekend when we're all going to get together and study, the drills are great. We all have lunch together. We go and we just do stock talk the entire time that we're at lunch. And, we talk strategies. We share stories. We talk about different ideas, things we're thinking about doing, stocks that we really like, stocks that haven't worked for us. I mean, the whole thing, it's like doing it in community like that, I feel like helps to keep it alive for me. And it's something I love talking with people about, and most people I can't talk with this stuff about. I just can't talk to them about it. Because they think people are nervous about the stock market. So I need to talk to people that are kindred spirits.
Yeah. And plus you're really smart in all these other areas, which is also so interesting. You're so well educated, but yet you're so down to earth. That is amazing. Sometimes I meet people with advanced degrees and they can't stop talking about significant periods in history. And I don't mind that. But after about 6 minutes, you know what I'm saying, Jesse? I'm gonna tune into another channel. You know what I mean?
No, I do. I mean, you keep saying that I'm so well educated, and I guess I am well educated, but it's really nice to connect with people and talk about what's, I don't know, just talk about things that are of interest to everybody, not to be off on some intellectual plane.
And what's interesting, I find, and this is hard for a lot of people to actually grasp, and I want to get your thoughts on this. Different stocks have different eras, right?
Yes.
Like there was a time when Apple was under $100, I don't know, 11 or 12 years ago. The volatility was amazing, and you had to choose between whether you wanted to hold the stock for the long term, but those out-of-the-money calls, Jesse, were outrageous. So I can mention a few names to you, and I want to do a little word association Okay.
Okay.
So when I
All right.
mention, I'm going to talk about some high vol stocks here. When I mention them, tell me your honest, visceral reaction. You ready?
I'm ready.
Netflix.
Great stock. Tricky to trade. Tricky.
We lost. There were a couple of nights sleep lost on that one when it was at a Tay Day. What made it so tricky?
Just the volatility on it and the big movement on it. And then also it's now such a pricey stock. It's over $400. And I would say, the biggest thing for me, I learned so much trading Netflix because we had that one episode over Christmas about a year or so ago, and I mean it dropped $100
Yes.
in probably 2 weeks. So that kind of volatility when you're holding shares and maybe you've got a pretty substantial position and then it drops like that, and you're really it's very nerve-wracking, to say the least. Very nerve-wracking. So I reached a point where I just got to this place of like it's a great stock, but I'm not going there anymore. Or if I do, I'm doing it very cautiously or in a very conservative fashion.
Disney.
I like Disney, but it's not something that I really trade. Or I'm holding some shares right now because I was trading it and it pulled back. So, I mean, it tends to languish. I mean, I have a lot of heart for it, and I love it, and I actually just signed up for the Disney Channel, and I love the Disney Channel. But, it's not, for me, it's not proven to be a big moneymaker.
No spreads on Disney? No out-of-the-money bear call spreads on Disney?
Well, I mean, that's part of the way I think I got called into it was by a spread, and it jumped, but then it pulled back dramatically. And I'm holding the shares, which is fine. I like holding the shares, but I'm trying to. I'm really very income focused. So for me, I need to bring in income, and so when I have to hold something, even though I can write way out of the money calls on it, but even so, the premiums aren't that great when you have to go out pretty far on Disney.
You ready? Now you're going to be totally 100% honest with me, right?
Yes, I will.
Okay. Roku.
Oh, I have a lot of heart for Roku, and I trade Roku. I still trade Roku, even though I know I'm not supposed to.
You know what the teacher says about that one, right?
Absolutely. I'm just waiting for you to ask me about Zoom.
We got to take a commercial. We're going to come back and talk about that one.
Okay.
But Roku, what is it you like? You like the volatility in the shares?
The volatility is really great, and and right now in this moment, Wall Street's not real interested in it, but we'll see. They come in and out of Roku, so and the premiums are always really excellent, even when they're a little disinterested because of the volatility. The premiums are still incredibly high. Yeah.
All right. So when we come back from this break, we're going to talk about a stock that's just driving everybody crazy in this particular market. And Jessie Shaw, this beautiful, educated woman who's come into the Wealthy Investor Program and done quite well for herself, promises to be honest with me and give me her honest opinions about some other stocks. Right, Jessie?
I will, most definitely.
Hey, we're going to talk more about stock market trading, investing, and profits right after you take a listen to this.
Want to increase your stock market trading profits? Then you need to start your monthly membership to WITradeschool.com right now. Don't understand how to write covered calls for monthly income? No problem. Simply review Tyrone's latest stock trades in our video library as many times as you need. WITradeschool.com is all about helping you get the financial education you need to earn money in the stock market and change your financial life. Tyrone Jackson, the wealthy investor, has helped his students earn thousands of dollars per month trading stocks online from home. These are people just like you. So what are you waiting for? Follow Tyrone Jackson's red-hot stock trades and investment strategies today. Don't wait. Start your monthly membership at WITradeschool.com right now.
And welcome back to Trading Stocks Made Easy. My special guest on this episode is Jessie Shaw. Now, Jessie, we were talking about your experience trading stocks, and you're enormously disciplined. And before we get back into talking stocks, most people don't know you're a trained acupuncturist, right?
I am. I'm an acupuncturist and Chinese herbalist here in New York City. So I've got a clinical practice that I'm there about 3 days a week and work with people. It's great. Love it.
And you do a lot of healing work, right?
I do a lot of healing work. It's really a very special thing between the acupuncture and the herbs, and there's some other kind of ancillary tools that I use, and it's very helpful for people. I'm as everyone knows, acupuncture is quite a wonderful modality.
And as I was saying before the commercial, what is so fascinating by you is that these many facets of life. Some people grow up and they're like, I started out in the insurance business and now I'm a district regional rep. But I mean, you have done everything from classical music to acupuncture to helping people heal to stock market trading. And I'm sure you're going to do something really dynamic in the future. You must feel that you are living a fulfilled life on a soulful level, right?
I do. I feel very blessed and very fortunate. I've gotten to do so many wonderful things with my life. It's been just a really wonderful journey, and I love New York City, and I love where everything is at. It's great.
And how much of your life, you don't sound like, because, when I meet people and they say, who are you? What are you doing? I teach people how to trade and invest in the stock market. The first thing I encounter is fear. Oh, no, I don't want to do that, right? Have you been the type of person who's lived her life in fear, or do you feel like you live a little bit more to the beat of your own spiritual drum?
I definitely walk to the beat of my own drummer. It's kind of been my history, I think. And so I've run counter to what everyone was thinking I should be doing, which is what I think we all learn about as we move through our lives, that we have to find our own passion and the things that really make us click and do really well in life. We just have to find that for ourselves. That's part of it. And I've gotten to do a lot of that exploration, and I found many wonderful areas that sparked my interest, and I've met amazing people along the way.
And do you feel like as a trader, you're still breaking through fear? Like when I come in and I go, hey, here's what's going on in the market, and now we're going to use this trade. Do you still find yourself being afraid at times, or are you able to just relax and embrace, whatever the lesson of the month is?
I find that it's gotten much better. I feel initially I had a lot of fear going on. And then I just sort of fell into the rhythm of what I knew that I was comfortable with. And, for me, a lot of that has to do with multiples in terms of the number of trades that I'm going to set up with any one particular stock. Like I'm not I'm going to buy 10 leaps kind of person. That's not the kind of person that I am. I'm a slow and steady bit by bit, but I make my money every month, but I do it bit by bit.
Right.
And I work that way because you always tell me to try and break out, and I do. And at the same time, I have to live in my skin, and I've got to be comfortable, and I want to sleep at night. So I consider all of that before I do something in the market.
Well, a lot of people say they get a lot of inspiration from this show, right? And if there's someone listening right now who's like, well, great for Jessie, she's got these advanced degrees and she's lived this great life, and I don't know if I should really try this stock market thing. What two pieces of advice would you give them? Because most of that is fear related, Right.
I would say to anyone, if you're not pursuing it, you're just really losing a major opportunity. That's my first thing, and I tend to pontificate all the time, or proselytize, I guess is the right word, with people about getting them involved in the stock market and trying to get them over to your program, or just trying to get them to something, because it's kind of like money laying on the table, which is, perhaps it sounds like a horrible thing to say, but these Wall Street firms, they're making tons of money, and we kind of the little people, like there's plenty of money for us to make there, so that we can go about doing other things in our life that is going to bring goodness to our communities and such. At least that's my philosophy. It frees me to do the healing work that I want to do, and to make other kinds of connections, which I feel are so important.
Yeah. I really, really understand that. I think, always on the other side of fear is freedom. right? And so if you never take time to break through your fears, you never discover the full freedom and richness of life. And, I don't teach people to worship money, but it does have a place, right? I once heard someone say, money can't buy you happiness, but you can sure choose your own misery, So as someone who didn't come from...
Exactly. Oh, I want to choose my own misery. Thank you. Right? Absolutely.
It's much nicer being on the other side. Now, before we took the commercial, you were being totally honest with me, and you were giving me your view and your visceral reactions on a few stocks. And, what I love about, our little club in the world that the wealthy investor world is we normally don't say stock names. We just say tickers, right? So if I said to you TTWO, you know what that means, right?
I do.
Okay.
Yes.
So for the benefit of our audience, we won't try to be too cute and name tickers. I'll name the full name of the stock, and you'll give me your visceral reaction. Okay? You ready?
Okay.
Amazon.
Oh gosh, great stock. Expensive to own, but worth it. I mean, they're on the edge. They're on the cutting edge of where everything's going, I think.
Is that why you like them so much?
I do. I mean, I'm not holding a lot of Amazon stock right now, but I'm dabbling a little bit in Amazon just because it's so expensive and pays no dividend, and so it's not even that I can write covered calls against it. So then it becomes either a hold or a volatility trade. So that's why I'm just dabbling in it. But I had 30 shares for a while.
Wow, look at you.
I know, and I made some good money on it. I wrote it and made good money on the volatility.
And you never bought an Amazon leap?
No, I did some long calls.
Oh, okay.
Long calls.
Against your shares?
Which I'm not supposed to do.
Yes, you're not supposed to, but
I'm not supposed to do. Yeah, just to do some affordable trades, but it just felt like gambling to me. It was too much of a crapshoot, so I stopped.
Yeah, I think that there are certain stocks that are a roller coaster that I just can't ride. Have you found that too? Because the volatility is just too great.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah.
All right.
I mean, Netflix being one of those.
Yeah,
me,
that was crazy.
That was a wild ride.
But I used to say this when I was when the stock was really in its heyday and I was teaching live. Oh, yeah. I would say I made so much money off of Netflix that I actually started a Netflix subscription because I was not even a subscriber, but I traded that stock so much. The stock called me one day. And it said, Tyrone, I'm exhausted. You just got to stop buying and selling me. You just have to do it. I kid, of course. You ready?
I am.
Zoom.
I have great heart for Zoom. But it's interesting. So anyway, I trade it. I trade it because it's so volatile, and I typically. I'm actually usually set up spreads. I'm not doing leaps or long calls or anything like that. I use it for spread purposes. And ever so often, do I volatility trade the shares? Yeah, it's a little bit to some extent. But it's risky. So I keep I'm doing small things with it, but you can make big money on it.
Yeah, you really can. You
can make big money,
but you really have to be an experienced trader. So I keep hearing you say the same thing. So this spreads thing you really like. I'm assuming you're setting up bear call spreads.
I am, yes, and a few put credit spreads, but mostly bear call spreads.
Okay, and your second leg for the bear call is $7 out of the money?
Depends on the stock.
Oh, wow. Look at you. Good answer. Okay.
For some it might be good. Others, it's not near far enough out.
Right, exactly.
Depends on who it is and what the premiums are.
Yes. All right. And we couldn't have a show if I didn't get your opinion, your take on AAPL.
I'm really liking Apple these days. I really am. I'm trading it. I'm not. I was holding a little bit, but I'm not really holding. I'm actually trading, and I'm using it primarily in my IRA, a little bit in my brokerage as well. And it's right these days. It's a little bit of a very nice, high premium paying, steady Eddie. That's sort of how I'm looking at it, and with great dividends. And of course, it's a Dow stock. So, yeah, it feels like a good trade right now for me.
And do you see that for, changing in the foreseeable future? Like, for example, there's an era, right? In this era, Apple, for some of my students, is a great trade, right? Other people say, no, it's a hold because of where it will be, where they anticipate the stock will be in 5 years. And everybody's correct, right? No matter what position you take. Why do you like it right now as a trade?
It's got really nice premiums, and it's not dramatically moving all over the place. I don't know. For me, it's almost like a little bit of a safe haven that I can still make some good money on. So that's why I like it so much. I mean, I fundamentally like the company. I'm a big Apple user and all of that. Mm-hmm. So it's got, I'm definitely, I'm not in love with it, but I'm definitely happy to date it for sure right now.
For people who don't know, Wealthy Investor lingo, we never marry stocks, we only date them. I found that when I talked about stocks in terms of relationships, people got concepts sooner and faster. So that's part of our inside lingo. Hey, Jesse, this time has gone so fast, and I really thank you for your honesty and your enthusiasm in this process. And we were talking about if someone were in New York and wanted to partake of your services, what's your website?
My website is jessieshaw.com, JESSIESHAW.com. That's where my business lives.
And you know what? So, listen, I know I'm just pouring on the compliments for you here today, but can I tell you 2 other things that are really great about you?
Well, sure. Okay. Please, feel free.
Sure. Nah, we're out of time. Skip the comments. What's really fascinating, it just occurred to me, like you debunk the myth that artists are not into money and wealth building. And that's great. And then also you debunk the idea that spiritual people aren't into money and wealth. And I love that you're a living example of that because, if you're truly a person who lives their life on a soul level, you have natural empathy for people, right? And think of how many people you can actually help if you had more than enough money to do so. So I thank you for being that shining example.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. What a lovely thing to say. Thank you.
Well, you're very welcome. And thank you for coming on the Trading Stocks Made Easy podcast.
My pleasure, Tyrone, anytime.
Okay. Hey, listen, I'll be back with a few parting words on the other side of this break.
You're listening to the Trading Stocks Made Easy podcast. Want to learn more about how to trade and invest in the stock market? Visit thewealthyinvestor.net/products. That's thewealthyinvestor.net/products and order the Wealthy Investor's Guide to Stock Market Success audio series. This easy-to-follow 5-CD audio series and manual will teach you the basics of how to buy and sell stocks, how to collect quarterly dividends for life, plus hidden income generating strategies like covered call writing and volatility trading. Start creating financial freedom right now. Get the financial education you need to get ahead. Visit thewealthyinvestor.net/products.
Hey, one of the things I really love about the Wealthy Investor program is that I get to meet so many of you and so many of you having financial success and creating wealth and residual income on a monthly basis because of this program. So I'm hoping that continues. A lot of you tell me you get so much inspiration for the show, and man, do I appreciate that, because that's certainly one of the intentions behind the whole program is teaching people how to create wealth and residual income without leaving home, by the way. Trading and investing in the stock market. Remember, trading and investing does not have to be complicated. You can start off with just an open mind, which, by the way, is a very, very powerful thing. I'm Tyrone Jackson, and as always, I thank you for allowing me into your life and our ability to spend this precious time together, and I'll see you on the next go-round.
You've been listening to the Trading Stocks Made Easy podcast. Be sure to rate and review our show on iTunes. While you're on iTunes, be sure to click the subscribe button, and you'll automatically receive our next episode.